A rooster was sentenced to be burned at the stake for the heinous and unnatural crime of laying an egg. It's
What?
thought this...
Oh, because roosters can't lay eggs. What? Hey everybody, welcome to my first ever video. I'm Alara and I'm super excited to finally start this channel. I'll be sharing topics from all over the internet, so if that sounds like your vibe, you should definitely stick around. Alright, so let's just get started. Today we're going to be watching a video of times where animals were prosecuted by the court. I truly don't believe how a court could prosecute an animal, but I need to see this because we all know the Blair Witch Project. Not Blair Witch Project, bro. What am I talking about? The Salem Witch... the Salem Witch Trials, right? Yeah, where they accused any woman that literally just breathed that she was a witch. Anyway, I'm not gonna get started into the whole Salem Witch Trials. That's a whole rabbit hole for another day. Today, we're gonna be watching a video by Qxir. I will leave the original creator down below.
In 1457, in France, 5-year-old Jean Martin was found dead and partially eaten by a pig. The sow's 6 piglets were also discovered to be...
Okay, but isn't that known that pigs eat animals? Like, pigs eat anything, though. Like, if anything just dies in front of a pig, pigs will eat it. That's why, isn't there, like, a known serial killer that, like, dispose of his bodies? I hope I'm not going too dark, but literally it's, like, known. Like, there's no way.
Covered in blood, and as such, were placed alongside their mother on trial...
I'm so confused.
for murder. Animal
I love the
trials
animation.
occurred across Europe from the 13th to the 18th century, as hundreds of surviving accounts attest, mostly from France. It's unknown if this is because the French were particularly litigious when it came to their non-human neighbours, or they were just more meticulous in keeping records than everyone else. And even though there are more than enough records to tell us legal trials of animals did really occur, there's not a huge amount of information detailing how they fit into the legal frameworks of the time. Were animal trials impromptu events held on the discretion of local authorities, or was this a well-established practice? Did they occur all over the place, or only in places where people who thought it was a good idea had power? In the places they did occur, was it commonplace or an unusual event? It's really unknown, but in the cases we know about, the proceedings seem to have been treated seriously enough to suggest there was an accepted precedent.
My question is, like, let's say an animal was found guilty. Would they go to animal jail? Would they go to jail with humans? Like, how would this work? I mean, I'd assume, like, because even back then they treated animals as less, so they would just, like, kill them and probably use the reason. Like, if they were found guilty for, like, eating someone, I guess they would just kill the pigs and the tiny little piglets. Oh, I mean, listen, I get it. Like, in terms of, like, their thinking back then, like, they thought any woman was... I mean, this is 1400s. Isn't that way before... Actually, wait, let me search this up, actually. When was the Salem Witch Trials? Oh, what does that say? 1692. Yeah, so this is like, I think 200 years before the Salem Witch Trials. So, I mean, I guess there's no recorded, like, there's not as much recorded evidence on what they would do, but...
And animals could expect the same treatment a human might receive from the legal system. The murderous mother pig was found guilty of killing Jean Martin and sentenced to be hanged by the hind feet to a gallows tree, which assumedly preceded a particularly humiliating time to be executed.
Wait, but how would that, like, because she's hung by her leg, right? Would she just stay there? And what about the poor babies? Oh my goodness, bro.
However, the defence for the 6 piglets argued that there had been no direct proof of the piglets engaging in the eating of the child.
Okay.
And their presence at the scene of the crime was attributable to their...
The presence of them at the scene of the crime. I love how this is, like, sounding like an actual murder trial.
young age, incapable of straying from the bad influence of their mother. The pigs were restored to their owner, but in a following procedure 3 weeks later, it was put to him that he would be fined should any further evidence incriminate the piglets in the crime, or should they engage in any crimes in the future.
Should they engage in any crimes in the future? Oh, but I mean, I guess it makes sense that like he would be fined. I guess that's like the most punishment you could give, because number one, pigs don't have like, I don't think pigs have morality. Like, you know, like if you give a pig something in front of it, it's just gonna eat it. Like it's pigs are known to eat anything. I don't think it was like malicious, you know. But then at the same time, usually even like nowadays, like if like a lion is known to kill people, there will be people that kill the lion, just because then the lion would be hungry for human blood. I believe that's a phenomenon. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but it's a phenomenon where if like an animal is constantly, if there's like an animal that's constantly hunting humans, that animal would be put down.
Owner would not speak to the good character of the piglets and denied responsibility for them, seemingly himself suspicious of their moral uprightness. Ownership of them was therefore passed to a local noble lady. There are quite a number of records of pigs engaging in infanticide and being sentenced to execution for their efforts. In 1394, a pig was hanged in France after being convicted of sacrilegiously eating a consecrated wafer intended for Holy Communion. Usually, crimes committed by pigs, cows, dogs, etc.
Etc. What is this? Wait, let me move my screen. Etc. What is this thing here? What is that? Oh my goodness. Prehistoric chicken right there.
Were trialed in secular courts because these were domesticated animals understood to be under the control of man. But some crimes, and some criminals especially, were considered matters for a higher power and were handled by ecclesiastical courts. In 1474, Switzerland, a rooster was sentenced to be burned at the stake for the heinous and unnatural crime of laying an egg. It's
what?
thought that...
Oh, what? But how then?
May have just been a chicken that developed male plumage.
Exactly, right? But like, dang. So like, a rooster was... What did they think the rooster was a witch? I'm confused.
As can happen with rare medical conditions in poultry. But to the court, a rooster laying an egg was a sign of witchcraft.
I knew it, bro. I deadass knew it. I knew it. Literally, I knew it. Anything that was abnormal to them back then was just considered witchcraft. I bet if someone learned how to do a handstand back then, they would for sure think they were witches. Oh damn.
The rooster was burned alongside his egg. But many cases...
Oh my goodness! What the hell?
Is heard in church courts centered around beasts that could not easily be brought to heel by man. Pests, vermin and creepy crawlies, bringing plague and destroying crops, couldn't be meaningfully punished by any judge, except for the judge. Sentences in these trials often involved church rituals, exorcisms and incantations. A guilty party may have first found itself receiving mercy in the form of exile or banishment, which bizarrely was a fairly common punishment in animal trials. But if a pest refused to honour its exile, it could expect the...
A vermin, right, refused exile, that they would just kill it. I mean, the thing that is so strange to me is, what did they think that this animal would understand? Like, would a caterpillar understand that?
French jurist Barthélemy de Chazanuz made a name for himself in one such case against rats. In the early 1500s, the French province Autun had its barley crop ravaged by rats, who were then formally presented with a summons from the magistracy.
I summon you out.
inviting the defendants to appear on a certain date and appointing des Chazonneaus to defend them. Des Chazonneaus formally objected to this action, pointing out that as the many defendants were spread across numerous villages all over the province, a single summons was legally insufficient to
Yeah, so they should gather all of them together and then give them the summons. Right?
properly notify the rats. This appeal was successful and a second citation was displayed in every parish affected. The authorities also made sure to give the rats ample time to learn of their summons and get their affairs in order for the journey to court. On the day of the trial, the rats, surprisingly, did not show up. The craven actions of the guilty. I knew it. Hang those bastards.
Wait, so I'm confused. They thought a rooster laying an egg was witchcraft, but they wholeheartedly expected rats to see the notice that they were given and appear to court. Wouldn't that be more witchcrafty if the actual rats listened? So they expected rats to behave like humans and that would be normal. But but if a rooster behaved like a chicken, or if a chicken behaved like a rooster, that was witchcraft.
Now. In a long speech to the court, des Chazonneaus attempted to explain the defendant's absence by pointing out the arduous
To be completely honest, I think he's doing a great job from what I'm hearing.
difficulty of the journey for the tiny suspects, during which they would be vulnerable to all manner of predator, not least of all the pet cats that roamed the village.
So is he saying that they should that they should schedule the court at night so the rats could journey onto the court? I bet that's what he's gonna say. I bet he's gonna be like, I bet the court's gonna accept it and be like, okay, fine, we'll schedule it for another time so the rats can come without being hunted.
Of the region freely. In short, his clients feared for their lives. If a defendant is cited to appear at a place which he cannot safely come, he has the right to argue the citation. Since the court could not guarantee the rat's safety, it could not compel them to appear, whereupon the case could not proceed and was abandoned. It's not really known what level of philosophical opposition to subjecting animals to legal proceedings they could not understand.
Do we think that the Romans also did this? Because I honestly feel like the Romans wouldn't do stuff like the British would. I think the British and the French were very bored at this time.
Existed at the time. Obviously, somewhere along the line, this opposition increased dramatically.
You know, I have a theory. So you know how like the Romans have the Roman Colosseums, and whenever they're bored, there's like 2 knights fighting each other. They didn't have entertainment. The British and the French didn't have entertainment back then. So instead of following what the Romans would do, they instead accused animals of not listening, right?
Exactly, and today most people see no rationale in animal trials, explaining their disappearance from society. I have another video about Mary the elephant, who was executed for murder as recently as 1916, but this was done largely for spectacle and was not a genuine legal trial.
That's so sad.
Animals deemed incompatible with society are largely just killed nowadays.
Yeah.
In a strange way, I guess you could argue that means we've gone backwards from a time when they got a fair trial and legal representation.
Exactly, right? Yeah, I feel like animals should get a fair trial. I think animals should have a fair trial, and I think if they cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed to them. Alright, so that is it for this video. If you guys enjoyed this, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.